Okay, so for my second project, it really came out of our recent family experience of trying to buy a laptop. Just trying to decide on that was really overwhelming. So many different options and many decisions to make. So I want to make a convenient central resource that's quick and easy to gather information and make an informed choice. So let's see what I did. Uh, Yeah, it's a web app, and it can be accessed through the browser. Okay, so basically it's a interactive data table that's searchable and filterable, and it shows all the different types of laptop models and allows you to sort them, compare them, for example, with the memory size, capacity, and storage, uh, even what year they came out, the price. Very important is CPU and CPU cores. Uh, Now, if we click on this one of them, we can go to an individual product page, and we get this gallery. As well as links and reviews. So, how did I do this? And also, I learned a lot of different things along the way. First things I learned were HTTP and getting the data. That I learned JSON. So, yeah, where did I get all this information about these laptop models? Well, actually, it's from here. It's from this website called noteb.com. They provide really great information, kept it up to date, and I wrote some scripts to download all the data from them and put them into JSON. So that was a lot of dictionary work, pretty simple, but that was in here. Serialized noteb.py. I have several functions that just rearrange dictionary stuff and use the JSON module to save as JSON, and then some file I/O to do that as well. The other unique thing, what I learned is using HTTP, different HTTP requests. So for this one, I use the post HTTP to request the data from the server, noteb. Okay, so now that I had the data, which is in data, and it's a bunch of JSON files, we can get a sense of what they're like. Yeah, so there's like battery, a lot of different things, CPU, display. Oh, another thing, I also have display size, GPU, etc. Yeah. So now that I have the data, how do I make it into this? And I really got a lot of experience connecting this backend. I made both backend and the front end, connecting really the server, that's the backend, to the front end, which is what you see here, using jQuery and HTML and DOM. So let's take a look at first at what we see. That's in the HTML stuff, which is in templates. So if we go here, you can see this table matches this thing, but only the headers, like name, CPU, cores, blah blah. Now, where's all of these entries coming from? I had to use the jQuery, which is a JavaScript library, together with the data tables library, which enables these kind of interactive tables with sorting and filtering. So if we go to the JavaScript here that's controlling this, let's put it full screen. One thing to note is, just a moment. One thing to note is all of the HTML and JavaScript are on the client side, and that means that it's gonna have to get data from the server. So I'll explain this soon, but basically here I'm using the data table the library to make a data table, and I get the data from the server over here and go through like each of the go through the dictionary stuff, which is the JSON basically, and fill it in. So how do I get the data from the server? Well, let's go to server. The server is Python. It uses Flask, which is basically the Python module for backend web. And basically, what you do with Flask is you route these different paths of your website to different functions. So when you go to the home, which is nothing, no added, it'll show this, which is form.html, and then to add functionality like the different models, I load the data from the JSON, and I need to give the data to the client to show it in their browser. But over here, this is the home. This data came from, it had to come from the server. But over here, there's nothing. There's nothing about any data. Well, actually, I need to make it kind of hidden, because it's a bunch of ugly JSON that needs to be further processed. So I get all the data here from my file on my computer, and then I put it into this /models path. So this is actually hidden, but if we go there, you can see all the data that's being sent. Now, this JavaScript, which is on the client side, will take that data by going to the matching URL and filling it in. So that's how I transferred the data from from the server to the client. Next, how did I make all of these individual pages? One of the first things was really difficult. At the start, I didn't know how to approach. I would have to make a page for every single laptop, and that's where I learned about this thing called dynamic HTML. So when I click on here, I'm actually using this one base template, template HTML with placeholder values, and I'm sticking the unique values into things like this and the image. Okay, well, let's first see how I even get to like link all of these rows to individual pages. So it's still in the JavaScript. When I click, this is an event handler that I also learned about that. When I click on the table row, it will take me to this relative path, which is connected to the server stuff over here. To make it customizable so that it like kind of auto-generates for every different laptop, I use this ID that's in the JSON for every single laptop, and this is right here. So each one has its own ID and therefore its own path. And this is what I'm trying to get with this stuff. So I'm going into the data of the individual rows, which is the JSON, and I'm getting the ID, and then I'm putting that all into a path, which you see here. And that connects to the server, which does the same thing. Models and then the model ID. And then this puts me into the new page, which is served by this. So it'll actually go ahead and ignore that stuff here. Like over here, it returns an HTML form to return and render. But notice there are other arguments. So these are actually I'm replacing the placeholders with the data on the server, and I'm getting this data from the JSONs. So let's take a look at the HTML just to get a better sense. So I also learned about like the project structure for these kind of web projects. You'll have like these templates folders, where the reason why it's called template is because of this like feature of putting placeholders. So these are the real magic. These are the double curly braces, and these are the placeholders. If you look over here, you can notice that image 1 and image 1 match, and then I just said assign it. And I do that for the images, which are also linked in the JSON, and over here. Yeah, so that's my project. Frankly, it's relatively simple, but I really learned a lot through it. Definitely different HTTP requests and JSON and getting data, and then connecting the backend to the front end with Flask and jQuery and HTML DOM, and making interactive auto-generated HTML to do things like this. So thanks so much. Some of my future goals are actually for each of the individual pages, linking specific sections of the review, not only reviews, but actually using natural language processing to take out a relevant section, as well as over here making it more like a grid view with tiles. So thanks so much.